Now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yu Ya.
Enlightenment and transformation. Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadows of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie wait in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should neither aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment. Female is your transformation. Child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness so it may enlighten you. Man, bring your light boldly into the darkness so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
Thank you. I love you so much because you just don't know what you've done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual. You can't always go by your feelings, because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else, your chakras and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands. And if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. Sit down and have some conversations with them. It's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create the same spiritual family. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. The problem is, when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. When we call him, we'll be like, "You going to church?" And I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God. So therefore, the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. You dig where I'm coming from? Or can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the books for a second and have a new conversation about hair weaves and wigs? Can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? What are we doing? It's a good day for exorcism.
You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome.
Well, you are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yu Yang.
Enlightenment and transformation. Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadows of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie wait in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should neither aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment. Female is your transformation. Child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness so it may enlighten you. Man, bring your light boldly into the darkness so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
I love you so much because you just don't know what you've just done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual. You can't always go by your feelings, because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else. Your justice and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or a weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands, and if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. I had a good, sit down and have some conversations with them. It's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create sane spiritual family. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. Because the problem is when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. When we call him, we'll be like, you going to church? And I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God, so therefore the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. Can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the book for a second and have a new conversation about hair wigs and wigs? Can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? It's a good day for exercise.
You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
Is the volume up? Yeah, is the volume up?
Nicole, she's calling me.
You see us all.
I think we're here.
You see all the shades of brown people. I don't think I'm on. Yeah, Jackie! That's good! Mom! Mom! Yes, baby. That's good.
Okay, everyone. For some reason, I don't think just so everyone knows, we are live. For some reason, I don't think the students realize that they can be heard, so they think we're still in prep mode. For some reason.
Yeah, we're just now figuring that one out, Chief.
Okay, yeah, we've been listening to you. All right, we've been hearing you guys the whole time, so you're on. Yeah. All right, so.
Okay. Greetings, all. Greetings, man. We're at Lettuce Lake Park here in Tampa, communing with brothers and sisters. We got Brother Tareen, Sister Michelle, her husband Richie, my boo Nancy, Sister Nicole. So we're here, and we're here to start talking about this subject that Chief has been covering this whole week on authority. So we're going to try to keep it as clean as possible. So Let's get it started, I guess. Okay, well, today, this month's topic about authority was very enlightening for me as a man, especially dealing with stepping into my authority. Yeah. One of the main things that I really got out of this month was dealing with strategy and tactics. And strategy and tactics inside of standing into your authority is one of the things that I think as men we all need to have to move forward with. And making sure that you plan for the short term and the long term, and making sure that you put active principles and active works to move forward on that goal and reach that goal is one of the most important parts of it. So one of the main things I will tell you about strategizing and getting your authority inside of that step and movement is one of the main focuses on moving forward on your authority. There's a lot of things that was stated inside of that. So inside of the thing, pardon me, let me get myself together real quick, and then I'll get things a little bit more organized. So if anybody else is on the line, it would be wonderful if they chime in on it.
Okay, cool. So I'll right now, Brother Zach and Brother Charles, they're trying to come in. Just so everyone understands, I think you probably are all familiar with what I shared about my blog talk Exodus recently, and it was supposed to happen the 1st of next month, but they for some reason they cut the premium service early, so we're using a different conference line right now to call in. So it was like a last minute thing. So the brothers who were, they have to readjust very quickly. So Zach and Charles are calling back in on that line right now. So just so everyone knows, we're still moving, we're still good here. We just had a little bit of a technical faux pas getting started, but I'm sure for you consistent listeners, you are no strangers to the tech stuff. But like I said, it was the last minute thing because we hadn't realized that we didn't have the same blog talk capabilities today as we did even yesterday. All right. So just give me a second. I'm going to try to keep bringing everyone in. All right. 1 second. So yeah, just to make it clear, this is an open call. So to kind of give you all a little bit of the of the background, how we're going to do it. I think that's one of the brothers right there, probably. This is an open call. That might be two of the brothers right there. Peace, Brother Zach. All right, there we go. I'm gonna pass the baton. I'm passing the baton. Is Charles there with you, or is this Zach?
This is Zach. I don't know where Brother Charles is. He sent me the number, so I'm assuming. Yeah,
he's on his way then. All right, cool. That's probably him right there. All right, cool. All right, there we go. All right, there's Charles. All right, I'm gonna pass it off into your capable hands. Just so everyone knows, let me just put this out there. At 12 o'clock, I'm going to open up the Blog Talk line, the same old Blog Talk line as before, 515-605-9862. I'm already forgetting a number. And anybody who's listening can call in at that point and share whatever like that. That's at the top of the hour at 12. All right? And I'm going to step back into the shadows. And I'm sure Anwar, and I hope Anwar and Michelle and Tareen, they shared, they got together. What I've been talking about all this time, getting together physically. So they did an Anu, I don't know what I'm going to call it, gathering today down in Florida. All right. Organized it themselves and everything. So that's why you heard all that noise in the background and everything. They're out there doing the family thing. All right. So I'm going to step in the shadows and let you brothers handle it. Take over from here. All right.
Okay. All right. So
First and foremost, greetings to everyone. Greetings to all the listeners to the Chief Speaks show for today. Greetings to all those that are in the chat room. I see you all being active. Greetings to the Florida ANU group getting together physically to be present on this call. And welcome to all of those that are going to hear this show in the archives and wonder what happened for the first 10 minutes. So, as Chief was saying, we had a little bit of a disturbance there in the beginning, but we are back on full strength. And this month's subject was authority. And so there were a couple of different ways that authority was talked about over this last month. We talked about authority at the individual level, and that show was really talking about how you author things, your own innate personal ability to create. And so what does that mean for you to leverage authority in that way? And then the next thing that was discussed was the authority at the spiritual level. And the spiritual level, which really stood out to me, was the focus on understanding your Agun and understanding how your Agun and your historical family ties are an integral part of understanding your authority. And then also understanding how authority plays itself out on ritual. And so there was a show which talked about the necessity of celebration and how celebration and celebratory beverages like rum and vodka, that we use in our rituals are a part of the authority that we bring even to our ritual and practice, as a manifestation of our realizing that through our authority, we are already confirming and celebrating what we are requesting and advocating and provoking our spiritual energies for. And then the next show after that talked a lot about the authority at the family level. And so this, anyone who has tuned into these shows over the years, listened to Chief talk, knows the emphasis that he puts on family sciences. And the last show of this month, the last Chief Speak show, talked a lot about authority as it comes from the family and the value and necessity of us playing our natural role within the family in order to maximize our authority. And so really understanding what the role of the man is, as Chief was saying, expressed through the different characteristics of the masculine Orisha, and then also understanding what the female role is as emphasized through the examples of the female Orisha. And so authority was really what was, once again, that was the subject. And we looked at authority from a couple different levels. And so that really allowed us to, really, I think, take a step back at an individual level and think about your level of authority and think about where that comes from. And if it's not something that you're seeing manifest to the degree that you wanted to, what some possible reasons for why that is. So, as always, the sessions were instructive and then they were also very practical in nature. And so I wanted to just provide that a short overview from what I saw, and then I'm going to turn it over to some of the other students so they can share their perspectives before we dig a little deeper into those subjects.
Yeah, so for me, it was just, can you hear me, Brother Charles?
I can, brother.
Cool. So just, with the spiritual authority, it had me really thinking about, just one being covered, even with the example that was used with the umbrellas and how the covering would come down. And it made me start thinking about the movie Lion King. And in the movie Lion King, when Simba, I guess, ran off into the woods and he started being raised by Timon and Pumbaa, which therefore he forgot his lineage and his line and where he came from. And he was raised, and they planted other seeds in his mind to think that he was something other than what he was. And it wasn't until I forget the monkey's name, whatever, came back and hit him in the head and started to telling him to remember who you are and remember what Rafiki, there you go. And and he came back and he hit him in the head, remembering him, you still have that knowledge, that lineage and that line is still inside of you. But then he kept thinking that, I've done so many bad things and so many things that don't really allow me to be connected. But it doesn't matter what you have been through, what you have done, you're still connected to that lineage. Now, just knowing is not, power. And I think he broke that down in one of the shows. Just knowing the lines and your lineage that you are connected to does not give you power, but applied knowledge gives you the authority to will power. So once he started to figure out who he was, and once he started to, learn from the past, because I remember when he hit him over the top of the head, and he was like, okay, it's in the past, but you can either learn from it or you can let it hinder you for the rest of your time. You either learn from it, you learn your lineage, you learn that authority that of where you came from, and then you start to will the power. So then he started to take back and then stepped into his throne. So for me, it was just more so now is you can look at the classes, you can look at even what he has, some of the literature that Chief has put out of grasping the root of divine power. And when you start to, these are all things that help you learn and help you start to grab your lineage, and it aligns you back with your right natural self instead of being basically brought up by the overlords, which you can call them in this sense, is Timon and Pumbaa, where you start to look at yourself as something other than really what you are. And even it says in the beginning of the show, be as natural as you can be, where you have to tap back into that lineage. And how do you tap back into that lineage? Well, and for me, it was really big with a new spiritual training, because then you got to start to you got to lose all of that other training that you had. You got to break and break, as Chief would say. I break and break. You got to break all of that down so you can start to build it back up, so you can start to take your rightful place. That's really what stuck out big for me and what kind of was sitting with me. I'll open it up to the other students down there in Florida to see what stood out for them as well.
Peace and greetings, brothers.
Peace, Sister Michelle.
Glad to finally join the call. I had some bit of a trouble, but everything is smooth now. But I would like to thank Brother Zach for connecting the Lion King to the topic. That's a really profound way to teach spiritual authority, in one movie, really. But what struck me the most was how Chief tied everything together at the end. I think that show really, even this Friday, it was this past Friday, that show really impacted me, because I personally was studying that whole system for like a year or two. And I always never felt right about it. There was always something off. And I'll share with the family that we were being, quote unquote, helped by overseas lawyer in Colombia, which that should have already put some red flags. But, like she said, I'm very thankful for him, because he put us down on this road. But when we were down that road and we were really analyzing and doing our studies and our homework, a lot of the UCC codes were based in like a natural divine law, which is what we liked. But stepping into that law, into that authority, I should say better, was very hard for us as a family, especially when we were practicing it in the courtrooms. And that experience shed a lot of light, because, and they were court cases, they were small traffic, issues that we were doing. And my husband was always practicing it on cops in New York. He would always question them. And I want to say 100% of the time, that authority, was seen by the cops. They saw that my husband knew what he was talking about, and that he was not fearful of them, that he saw them as an equal, like on the same level, but he never showed them that they had any kind of power over him. And that was the key, that authority. So this month's topic on Chief Speaks really clarified and put into words that sense of who you are, that is so necessary when you're dealing with gremlins that try to dress up as cops, and they see that. And I don't know what you would like to share.
Yeah, and one of the things when I just heard you speaking too, let's make sure we don't people don't get carried away. And you just figure, I mean, once you start to remember who you are, you start to just move different. You walk different, you talk different, and you start to find out that you don't hang in some of the circles that you used to be in, doing some of the things that you used to do, because it no longer helps out to where you're ascending to. So, I mean, even with those, some people have these run-ins with the law, and you have run-ins with it. You find out that you don't even have those run-ins no more because you're shooting at different baskets than everybody else is shooting at. But then it's hard for some people to see that. I even take it back to one of the shows when it's talking about the hood mentality, and a lot of times it's hard to get out of it because you feel like you're somehow connected to it, and you don't want to leave because you don't want to say you don't feel like you're better than anybody. But if you're putting in that work and you're studying and you're connecting back to your lineage, well then you got to separate in order to elevate. And some people don't. It's not as good or as great as some people would like it to be because they'll feel like all of the family or maybe friends or everybody is over there. But for you to sit on that throne, you got to remove yourself. So that's what I kind of was just thinking about that with Sister Michelle was just building on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to quickly chime in and to say that I agree. And ever since moving down to Florida, we haven't had any altercation with the cops, and it's not about that anymore. We definitely have grown and moved to a different space. That is certain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's one of the things that Sister Michelle was sharing about her husband in terms of knowing the law and knowing his rights. That's an important part of that because, part of that authority is also the study, is also the knowledge of yourself, but also the knowledge of the systems around you. And then, as Brother Zach was saying, just knowing it in and of itself is not enough without the applied knowledge. So the real authority comes from not only him knowing those things, which is a quality of, which is reflective of the amount of study that he's put in, but then also the application of it, in those conversations with actual police officers. So that's a real world example of, that version of authority that Chief was discussing on the first show of the month. And then the other thing I was thinking is that, that story of the Lion King is one that will and continues to resonate, from the beginning of time. Because even I'm sure most people know this, but for those that don't, even like a cursory example, a cursory reflection of it, that's the Asar, Aset, Heru, Set story that has been being told, since the beginning of time by the Kemetic people, with Mufasa playing the role of Asar, Scar playing the role of Set, and then whatever the son's name is, playing the role of Heru. Yeah, playing the role of Heru. And the idea, and it's very reflective of the exact same story, where in that story, Aset flees the kingdom after Asar is killed, and she has Heru, and Heru, has to learn who he is and ultimately assert his authority as the rightful ruler of the kingdom when it comes to dealing with, his father's brother, Set. And so, that's just such a great example of that story, Zach, and I appreciate you bringing it up. And it's also a story that resonates, throughout history. That idea of the son having to understand his father's journey, and then realize who he is in his lineage. You see that with Star Wars, with the Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and even last year, there was that movie Gods of Egypt, which basically retold that whole story in live action. But that's a reoccurring theme, and it does the idea of authority coming from understanding your lineage, understanding your legacy, but then also the application of that knowledge. So I just wanted to, just jump in and add that as well.
Yeah, when you were it brought me back to the show on Friday with Buyer Beware, because even when you start to apply that knowledge, then you start to see what can and can't be done, and you start to see how to move. Where therefore, when somebody else starts selling you something, then you're like, hold on, man, I know you're full of. Whereas, so that which leads me to another question, because then because it was kind of like once you start to come to authority, you start to see the light that you have in yourself, which then goes back to respect. Which, let me ask you this, ask y'all this: can respect be earned?
Can respect be earned?
I would like to
think
get in for that one.
Yeah, brother-in-law.
Greetings. So,
Peace, brother. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. We're kind of going all over the park right now. Michelle's on a whole other place in the park. I don't even know where she's at. I'm over here by the water, and I just want to say, man, it's a wonderful thing for us to get together and have a communion together, which is wonderful. To get into the question, when we talk about respect being earned, if you don't have respect when you are doing something completely, if you don't see light, you can't earn it. That's I think that's a fallacy, because if there wasn't respect there, it's respect in the beginning, I don't think it's going to be there at the end, unless there's character adjustments, unless you have worked on shining your light and projecting your light in a place where people can actually see the light. You know, using the Anu definition of respect, you know, to see light. So with that definition, and even with just working and moving in a place, you have to actually go and work at demonstrating that respect. So for it to be earned, the only person that earns the respect is you, and you making the correct decisions in your life to make that light shine so other people can see the respect.
Right on. And me and Brother Charles are over here down by the bay where the green grass grows, brother. So y'all enjoy.
I hope Sister Michelle didn't get lost. I'm telling you, this place is big, man.
No, I had to hide because, you know, if my tribe sees me, they don't understand that I'm on the phone or I'm doing a show. So I had to really go out and hide. But I'm in a nice spot. I'm surrounded by nature. But I wanted to chime in on the bit of respect. And I want to ask a question, because I don't know if respect can be earned, or what changes is the person. Like, you learn to see respect. So you learn to see the divine and everything, really, because people disrespect nature all the time because they don't respect it. But then if they learn how to see with their third eye, or the first eye, really, then they can see the divinity in other things. And I think that's the main reason why cops and military have to use so much force. And I think they're the ones that, if I'm not mistaken, that almost coined earned respect, because they're really earning it through violence, right? Through fear. So you're not really seeing the divine in them. You're just learning to I guess, manipulate the oppressor. So you think you have respect for them, but what you really have is fear. What do you guys think? Am I off?
That's a perspective. I think there's something that Brother Anwar said that kind of just stuck with me real quick when he talked about respect in the level as Ra spec, like Ra, like being sun, and the reverence that you have for the sun and the respect you have for the sun, because the sun does what it does, regardless of whether or not you care about it or not. It's playing its role, it's playing its position, and it's doing that to the utmost of its ability. So what I would say is that if you have something or someone that is playing their role and is playing that role to the best of their ability, how would you not respect that? The respect is not, the goal is not, the thing or the person themselves isn't doing what they're doing in order to get your respect. The respect is what comes after them doing what they're doing. So, it's like one of the 7 hermetic laws is like the law of cause and effect, which I would equate to this situation. So, if you as a person carry yourself in accordance with your true self and your natural self and your best self, then there will be some effect from that. The effect being, in this case, in this dynamic that Zach has suggested, I think it would be respect. So Zach carries himself as an Anu man at the apex of what that means, and as a result, we give respect to him for that. It's not that he's explicitly trying to earn that respect, but it is the byproduct of his living his life in accordance with his best self. Now, on the other side, if he doesn't do that, or if he was doing that and then he stops doing that, then he would lose respect. And it's not that his actions are designed to lose or to give up respect, but it's the natural flow of what he's doing. It's a natural response or a natural response to his unnatural behavior. So I would say that I wouldn't say that it's exactly expressly that you earn respect, but I would say that respect is the byproduct of your actions when your actions are in accordance with your true and natural and highest expressed self.
So would you say then that one would need to find the light in themselves first, and then once you find the light in yourself, then you can naturally see it in others. But therefore, if you don't see it in others, then you don't see your own light. You don't have respect for your own self.
That's a good question. I would say that it is very hard for chickens to respect the life of eagles. Meaning that, like eagles have a lifestyle. They have a certain life that they live, and chickens have a certain lifestyle that they live. And, the chicken doesn't even think about or see life at the level that the eagle lives. And the eagle can see the chicken's life, but chooses to live in a much different way because it's living naturally how it's supposed to. So, when you talk about what that level of respect means and the true understanding of what that respect is all about, I think it does require you to have also done that similar work as well. Like there are people that might listen into the show that have never listened to this show before, and they're like, these people talking a bunch of gibberish. I don't know what this is. This is madness, right? They wouldn't necessarily respect it because they also haven't done that work. Now, the people that have done that work will have more respect for it, but they have made a decision to live a different life. So I think that you do have to at least pursue a similar journey of your own personal greatness for you to have that respect for someone else who's doing that at their level. It's like, if you put the great athletes of different sports together, even if they play different sports, they all have a respect for the work ethic that it takes to become great in that particular sport that they're great in, even if they never played it. But somebody who doesn't watch sports at all, doesn't value sports at all, just says, oh yeah, Michael Jordan is just somebody who got rich from playing basketball. They don't understand the level. They don't understand the level of work that it takes to be great at that level.
There's a key word that you said, Brother Charles, and own. You got to own it. You really got to step into the ownership of your authority once again, the ownership of yourself. If you have a purpose, and once you find your purpose, you own your purpose, your life purpose. And when you get to that level where it's like you're living it, breathing it, sweating it, bleeding it, then there's no choice for the chicken to be a chicken, because the chicken is a chicken. It knows it's a chicken. There's nothing that anybody else could tell him or the hen or the chicken whether it's a tiger or a lion. No, it's a chicken. It knows it's a chicken. It's going to move like a chicken. It's going to do the things the chicken does. The eagle is going to do the things the eagle does. So owning it, stepping into that place of ownership of your life, ownership of your purpose and the things that you want to bring to the planet and the things you want to do with people, and owning into that is one of the key goals of it. So of being in your authority and seeing the respect that we're speaking of is owning it, and other people will start to see that. That's when that respect, that light being shown is being seen by others, and people will give you that. And that's coming from personal reference. That's something that I've been experiencing now, because now the way I've been transforming through my years is that people are actually now starting to see me as a different person. As, oh yeah, well, when I talk to him, this is the way I need to talk to him. This is the way I need to correspond with him, because this is the way he presents himself, and he owns it. So, and Chief has helped me out. I told Chief the other day, is like, that's one of the things that he has helped me with in my journey with him, is confidence, being who I am, who Anwar is. The Sister Kim even gave me that same advice. Who am I? And do what you do. Do what I do. You know what I'm saying? Be in my place. Be in my ground. So, and it takes brothers and sisters to commune like that, to really understand ourselves. So it takes that teaching and that giving, that reciprocity to give to and receive back, to really understand who you are and what role you play inside of that community, inside of the planet.
So you're telling me Chief was... Go ahead, sis.
I'm sorry. I would like some clarification. What has more authority, a small ant or a large eagle? Is it the same level of authority, even though the ant is not aware of the eagle, right? The eagle's too big, and the eagle probably is not aware of the ant. But does the eagle have more authority over the ant because it has a greater capacity for understanding, quote unquote, so as far as we know, because it has a bigger brain? Or is it that all things have the same authority? And the real issue is, like what Anwar said, and all the brothers in the class said, that it's a recognizing of the authority in you, and then you see the authority in all, or the different levels.
So, well, I would go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You got it.
So the way I would look at that is, it just depends. I mean, you start to recognize, even if it just, again, goes back to that umbrella. And I look at that as your culture. And if you try to blend the two cultures, then if the ant tries to live an eagle's culture, well, then the eagle is going to have authority over it. Whereas if the eagle tries to live an ant's culture, then the ant's going to have authority over it, because now, so it's just a matter of, and again, culture coming from that word kolir, which meaning to cultivate. So now it's just saying that mind, whichever has your mind. So you can't start to mix two cultures, because then if you start to mix two cultures, then one is going to fight for dominance. So if you start to implement your own culture, you will see the respect for other cultures that you have, and you'll be able to move. And I think even Chief built on that with living in our new life. We're just saying you're able to move in different communities, and you're able to stand and go wherever you need it. And you even hear some people in the church who say, I'm covered by the blood. And when you say that simple thing, is just basically, I can go anywhere because I'm rooted and grounded in who I am, and I'm covered. And you'll have respect for other things, and sometimes you won't see respect in some things because it just don't happen. But it's just a matter of whatever you're grounded in and the culture that you implement for your household. Again, being covered from that umbrella.
I think one thing we got. I think the metaphor that there's levels to this is a good representative to it. That, like you said, the eagle can't do the ant's role, and the ant can't do the eagle's role, nor can it do the chicken. So every person has a place, everything has a place, and it has a duty to do inside of their lineage. But there's levels inside of that lineage, but there's a certain vibration that the eagle holds. There's a certain vibration the chicken holds, and there's also a certain vibration the ant holds. So the authority of those roles are really stuck within those genres of things. So I believe we can say there's levels to it. And it's not saying that the eagle is better than the ant or the chicken is better than the squirrel. So there's levels to it. That's really my biggest point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with with everything that Brother Anwar says, and just so we're all clear, you have not dialed into the National Geographic Channel discussion right now. But yeah, But yeah,
I'm gonna mention every animal I see on this boardwalk. Okay.
Right. But no, like, yeah, I agree with what Brother Anwar was saying. Sister Michelle, to your question, the ant is doing what it naturally does. The eagle is doing what it naturally does. So within their spheres, they're both commanding their authority. The interesting thing about us as humans is that we have the ability to not be natural. We can choose to go against what would be in our best interest, or choose to go against our natural selves, and then reap all of the consequences that come along with that. So like when Zach referenced the Anu spiritual training, that's part of what phase one is really all about, is you learning how to clean up, clean out and clean off all of the toxins that have become a part of you as a result of living in a culture that is out of alignment with your natural order and natural self. And so the value of that becomes, just wanting to be something, wanting to be different doesn't make you that thing without a lot of work and effort to become that. And so the first, training phase one is designed to help you do that so that you can get in alignment with your natural self. And then as a result, reap the authority that comes from that and the rewards that come from that. So, I think that's an important question that you asked, and a lot, definitely important responses from the group.
And I wanted to say this as well too. Is this, and I've heard Chief say this so many times, is peace only if you're ready to go to war for it. And even when he was talking about people, and I'm gonna give paperwork in order to get my natural citizen or my free. Look, the ant ain't gonna show no eagle its paperwork saying leave me alone. You're gonna have to stand up and you're gonna have to fight. And that means that everybody has to come into alignment. That means that, you can't have women out front trying to take the hits and the bruises, that the men should be up there leading, the men should be covered and rooted and grounded in their culture, and everything should be flowing and moving. But when people try to get out of alignment and you start to plant these genetically modified seeds in one's mind, they're saying, now I'm going to try and do somebody else's job, or I'm going to try and do somebody else's role, which is their divine role and authority that they've been given walking the planet. Well, then now things start to get out of whack. And when things start to get out of alignment, then it's a hard cycle trying to get back in. And it's all scraping that Willie Lynchism out of one's mind in order to get back to that divine authority.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. There was something interesting too, though, also that Chief mentioned. And, I think, and I'm seeing in the chat room too, Sister Sequoia brought up the idea of the family and how critical the family is to your authority. And, particularly she was referencing the story that Sister Michelle told about her husband, and that part of what also gives him the authority and allows him to play the role that he's playing is that he is playing the role of the ombudsman, or the husband of that family. And so, I thought that it was really important that men play a certain role in the lives of the women they're with and engage with and joined with, and also with their family, and how that really amplifies your ability. And I just thought that was something that really was an important point, because we live in a society that really tries to emphasize individualism and really wants you to operate on your own, because as you're on your own, you can be picked off pretty easily. I think one of the things that I recall Chief saying is that the best protection is group protection, or something to that effect. But it really gets to this idea that together as a unit, you are so much stronger. You're so much more protected. You're so much more able to make moves and be more fluid, and move with more authority in your fluidity than sometimes you can by yourself. And so that part of having a family and then playing the certain role that you have to play in the family can't be detached from this idea of authority.
You know what? But why do you? Let me ask you this, Brother Charles. Why do you think that's so hard for people to, for one to grasp of that greatest self-preservation is group preservation? When you start to adopt these, these things of I'm gonna be a maverick and I got to get it on my own. And, you know, in order to have respect, you got to come up and watching these movies like Self-Made and all of that kind of stuff. Like, why is that so hard for one to grasp?
I mean, I think I would just say personally, I think it gets down to programming. I mean, people can be programmed to have a certain response. So, you know, if you live in a society which already as a culture emphasizes individualism, and then you get up in that society and you read the newspaper, or you get on Facebook, or you watch the news, or you go to the movies, just like you're saying, you're going to get a steady indoctrination of that way of thinking. You know, it's like, you know, Francis Cress Welsing used to always talk about the fact that racism, white supremacy is in everything. So it's always going to reinforce a certain way of thinking and a certain response as a result. And so the individualism, which is one of the key aspects of dominant Western culture, is something that we are all, you know, constantly being inundated with. And so, you know, just our normal, or what we consider to be our normal participation in the culture will push us away from the ideas that would present or allow us to move into that sense of group preservation that you're talking about. I remember, for example, years ago, I went to this presentation, and it was done by this man and this woman, brother and sister, and they were married, and they were talking about family as a way of insulating yourself from a financial standpoint. And so they talked about how the decisions that you make with your money when you're in a family are different than the decisions you make if you're single. And they were just basically breaking down the idea of like your discretionary income, what your discretionary income looks like as an individual versus as a family, and how, you know, if you're an individual, your discretionary income is usually more going to be spent on entertainment things. So you're going to buy more clothes, you're going to buy more food, even though, you know, you could just make food at home. You're going to buy alcohol, and how these low production products keep you in that cycle of being broke, because your money has to be spent on these things that you're going to eat or drink, and they'll be gone, or wear, and they'll be gone in a year, or a couple months, or a day, and then you have to go back into that cycle again. Whereas how, if you're operating in a family dynamic, how you look at discretionary income has to be different. Because if you spend that money on, you know, Hennessy that your child needs for, you know, glasses so they can read in school, you can't do that. So how you apply the money has to be different. And the society, for the society to work the way that it does, it has to work off, you know, gross consumerism. It needs you to buy goods that are not really of value, that are going to dissipate quickly. And so it was just an interesting way of just thinking about how much of even the economy of a society like this works on and is based on your being an individual. So there's no real push for people to be together, because the entire consumer system needs you to be an individual in order to spend your money frivolously. And so that's just one sort of example of it. But I think it just plays into sort of what we're up against, and why the value of family is so important, because it is an insulative, and it is a protective, and it is a valuable resource and a valuable science, but it's actually in conflict with the messaging of the culture that we all, you know, most of us are a part of.
And, you know, just a little bit of that, when you was like Francis Cress Welsing, when she was just saying just the racism is everything. And you got to start to scrape that out of your mind to start to rebuild. But it's so hard when one comes along like a Rafiki, or you get an AKA Chief with his hammer and cracks you over the calabash, cracks you over the head, and telling you to remember who you are. What are some of the challenges? Because you kind of touched on this a little earlier, Brother Anwar, of when you were saying that, you know, it was it kind of was a bruise to your confidence, and maybe even a little ego with that. When you were speaking to Chief, and he kind of, you know, get your divine authority. What were some of the challenges that you had faced getting back to that?
Well, some of the challenges that I'm still experiencing, and it's still a growing process. So it's not that I'm there yet, but one of the biggest challenges I've had is just actually getting past what everybody else is saying, like what conversations is being held in the background, and approaching system, the scenario with a no, that's not me. I don't own that. That's not me. That's not what I do. That's not what goes on in this house. You know, that's one of the things she posts. That's not what we do here. You know what I'm saying? And getting to that point is like knowing that these are the things that I'm good at. These are the things that I know I'm a manifest at. And nobody else can tell me anything different than that. So getting into that stage, I'm breathing heavy, excuse me. But getting to that stage, it's still hard, you know. You still get those conversations that you have with people, but knowing the source of those people and knowing where they stand in their own life, and knowing what kind of information or what kind of presence, what kind of character they bring, has helped me go past those words, those actions that might degrade me from my confidence or take away my confidence. And knowing that place has helped me grow as an individual confidently. You know? So that was one of the major keys that's helping me, knowing myself and knowing what my how my decisions are being made, what effect my decisions are being made, what kind of effect that they hold when I do make a decision, knowing that if I do something, I'm gonna do this to my standard of quality. You know, that's another thing, is knowing that there's a quality situation on things that I do and upholding that quality, keeping that once again, that quality as one of the things that this is what we do here. We are great people. We are happy people. We like to help people. We like to give to people, but we only give when it's supposed to be given. And knowing the parameters of my heart is one of the things that has helped me become a little bit more confident in understanding myself in a whole larger manner.
So when I hear you, it's like, well, one of the things is just knowing when you know who and what you are, then you can now start to, and then it goes back to that respect and that divine light that you start to bring within yourself. And all of a sudden you start to see it within other people. How has that helped you? I mean, ask all of y'all, how has that helped you in your mate selection when you start to go out and you start to move and start to look, knowing your place and your divine authority? How has that helped you? And what are some of the things that you look for when you start to choose a mate and seeing that your role and then knowing what their role should be? And I'm going to start with you, Sister Michelle, because what were some of the things that you look for when you, before you got married or to your significant other?
Well, I can't really speak on that because when I met my husband, I was in a much different space mentally and culturally too. My ideals and my values are very different. But I did want to chime in on, Brother Charles's explanation on family and authority, and also when he explains the strategies of this culture and to keep us all, separated. I forgot what this technique is called, but I think it's a Greek one, and it's about divide and conquer. And they've been basically doing this strategy all over the world, and it's worked on the family. So technically, they've literally divided the authority, and that's how they've been able to infiltrate, right? But I got to tell you, I will share my personal experience as a wife going through this whole court system and the whole paper terrorism thing, because that was pretty scary. Doing the paper stuff, the paper terrorism, or not terrorism, it's just you just defend yourself via paperwork. But like Brother Jack has said, that doesn't work.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
Okay, here's a robot. I'm just going to keep on speaking.
The PIN you entered does not match the PIN you have on file for your account. Please re-enter your PIN.
Okay. So when I was going through the process with him, I went to the court with him as well, and I got a first-hand view of the theater.
I'm sorry, but I did not hear you press at least 4 digits of your PIN number.
So when I got to see my husband stand in his authority, not only to
Thank you for using Blog
it would
Talk
happen
Radio.
that
Goodbye.
we were also in the car, but also when we went to these cases, and I got a chance to see my husband standing in his authority, it was so much easier for me to submit because I said, yes, this man knows what he's talking about, and he's absolutely right. And not only do I respect his authority, I see that others should do the same. And in one instance, one of the lawyers, or I don't know what they're called, the district attorney.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
And then she came to me and she pulled me to the side, which what she did was separate me from my husband or any view.
I'm sorry, but I did not hear you press at least 4 digits of your PIN number.
And she started asking me, do you know what you're doing? You know your husband can get into a lot of trouble. Like trying to put that fear in me.
I'm sorry, but I did not hear you press at least 4 digits of your PIN number.
I reassured the lawyer that that my husband knew what he was doing and that everything was going to be all right. So that ticked off.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
She pushed us to the end of the hearing, so we were the last ones to show our case. But that changed a lot for me. After that particular court case, I saw my husband in a very different light, only because I saw him shine with his authority, and he shone over all the gremlins that were in the court case. Like, it really is, once you get over the fear and you actually, with knowledge, you stand your ground in your authority, you can almost see the little gremlins just kind of like scurry away and being angry that they couldn't get one over you. So I don't recommend anybody going to the court case like we did. It took us, that was our path. But if you ever have a chance to go on YouTube and see it for yourselves, it's really enlightening, especially for a woman. But I also wanted to chime in a little bit on, the key component that y'all said about the family. And that has an effect on the family as a whole, not only to be in a partnership, but also to have small children, because you almost are forced to step into that authority to protect them from other people or other things that can harm them. So when me as a wife, as a woman, see that I am protected and covered by my husband, I can do my role differently. I can do my role in a much calmer state, and I can raise the children in a certain way that they're also covered and protected. But that's only because I see the divine authority in my husband, and I know I have full confidence that he can make anything happen to protect us. So that's a key component, because I've seen women that they are stressed, they're trying to live a married life with family in this culture of working and, being by themselves. And it's a very, very sick dynamic. It's not healthy, and everything is off. Everything is off. So that's what I wanted to say, that, the submission part is key when you can see the authority in the male that you're dealing with. That's a lot easier. So that's another, so how many males do we see, or men do we see stepping up into the authority? Few and far in between. So there's a dualistic aspect that has to happen almost at the same time. Because I'm not sure if, I can't say that I didn't see his authority beforehand, but I know that I clearly saw it and recognized it in my conscious mind after that day. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't see his authority beforehand. I'm pretty sure I sensed it. But there's also another thing. Like, women can sense, when they're dealing with a man and when they're dealing with a male. Someone who has authority and someone who doesn't. And you can almost see that by the woman's behavior. How is she behaving around you? Does she see you the respect? No. If she doesn't, she'll be acting out. She'll be, you know, causing a ruckus. But if she does see the authority, a woman changes. It's a very different dynamic in the state of mind and emotional health of a woman.
Well, that's great. I'm going to show you some authority around real quick. I just checked in with the group, and everybody look like they're eating. You better save a plate for everybody here. Me and Michelle, we're walking around, checking, and you guys are eating. Look like you guys having a good time, too. Kids running around all over the place, and nice conversations happening over there by the picnic table. But just to add on to that mate selection, one thing that I just really got to see the light of, especially this past weekend, because my boo was at Nancy. She's here. Got to give her a shout out. And we were working as a team this whole weekend, like seriously, a team in the household, doing things to make the time go, so we can have more time to do things that we were working on. So teamwork is one of the things that me stepping into my own confidence and knowing where I need to go and my direction I'm taking. Teamwork was one of those qualities that I'm looking for. You know, I'm a lead. I'm a stand in my authority, but the allowing, like Sister Michelle was talking about, the ability to allow me to lead and lead us down a path that's going to help us get better. That has been an important part for my mate selection. So, you know, and once you start seeing that, once you start stepping into your own, and knowing that, then you start seeing those qualities that you need, that you're looking for in an mate. You know, so that's one of the things.
So,
that's it. That's one of the main.
Can you expound on some of the qualities that you said as you were leading? What are some of the qualities that you would kind of look for?
One quality is the softness. I personally don't want to deal with a woman that's hardened, hard, and unable to bend in thoughts and consciousness. Because if she can't do that consciously, you know what I'm saying, she's not going to be able to do that physically. So that's one trait. The next trait is the ability to, once the direction has been given, the ability to navigate and put those things together, you know, and just to a certain degree, like making sure that the decisions, the counsel that the type of counsel that she gives is going to be something that's going to be beneficial to the culture that I'm presenting for. You know, so if she's embedded inside of the idea of what kind of culture I'm holding in my household, and she's making sure that I don't sway away from that, she's giving me proper counsel and information, that's another quality, you know, and really it's just the nurturing part of that. So if I'm bringing intent to the table, she's able to come behind it and sit there and say, let's make this plant grow. Let's make this idea grow and get fatter and get healthier and get wiser. Food, soul, spirit, everything just gets larger, vaster. Hopefully that answers your question.
And Brother Omar, you over there doing Tai Chi, shadow boxing, making sure you get a plate, showing everybody else?
Man, I'm telling you, by the time I'm finished, well, I'm gonna need a nice little size plate because I think I've walked about 2 miles already.
Yeah, we know.
I know we can.
I just saw Brother Omar ski walk up the trail. I'm hiding in the little corner. He's all the way. He's like hiking. He's hiking up the mountain.
Maybe we should just slow down and take a little stretch break or something. then get back in. But Brother Zach, let me just jump in on that question that you asked. And it's interesting because I'm just checking the chat room, and I'm seeing a real interesting conversation that's developed, speared by Brother Byron, which talks about basically the role of the man in the family covering all the financial responsibilities. And he's putting some comments out there for other folks to weigh in on around that. And so, when you talk about, Zach, when you're talking about mate selection, one of the interesting parts about that is how we sort of get into mate selection tends to be kind of a backward process in many ways. And it's funny because, I have a set of friends where practically all of us are married at this point, and including myself. And what I realized is that, most of us got married in our early 30s, some in the late 20s, and there's not really, you don't really know at that point a lot of times what you want your family life to be like. The chief always talks about this, always brings up this term home economics, right? And, home economics is like a class we took when we were growing up, but it's really about like how the family is planned and managed. And a lot of times, as men who participate in and are influenced by Western culture, we don't approach the idea of getting married through a lens which considers our more natural ways of functioning. And so, for example, Chief brought up this great example about this idea of like, as a man, you grow up and somebody's telling you, hey, you better learn how to cook for yourself and clean for yourself and do all these things because, you don't want to have to depend on a woman to do those things for you. Or, women will be raised and they're taught in a way that says you don't want to ever have to depend on a man for anything. And so the problem is that you both grow up and you're both taught to function that way. And then you decide that you want to get together because you love each other. And then there's this constant power struggle that happens, particularly around the first couple of years of a marriage, which is why so many Arab marriages, one of the reasons why I think so many marriages end so early, because there's this power struggle that happens once you both are in the same space and realize that you do have expectations of what the other person is going to do. And you do have certain roles that you want the other person to play, which that person has not been taught to play those roles. So, when Brother Byron suggests that the man should cover all the bills, well, if a woman comes with that expectation, but you as a man have thought, well, she got to have her own, and I want my wife to be a boss in her own right and make money on her own, then those two ideas are going to be in conflict. Or if you as a man think that your woman should maintain the home and, make sure the home is running perfectly, but her upbringing said what's important is that you have all of the money for yourself and that you're able to live this very outward-facing corporate lifestyle, those two things are going to be in conflict in your home. And so, I think that when you talk about family planning and selection, one of the things that I strongly encourage any brother I talk to now is to wait until you're much older. I would say don't even consider getting married until you're in your 40s. And part of that is because you'll, one, have a lot more maturity around who you actually are. A lot of your more childish behaviors, hopefully you have rid yourself of those by that time. And then I think the other thing is that you will more than likely put yourself in a better position to deal with providing the coverage that is necessary for a family. And, those were some things that Chief hit on that last show last week too. The idea of how do you, when you take on a woman as your wife, that should upgrade her situation. So, you should be able to give her, if that's a house, then she has a house. If that's a car to drive, then she has a car to drive. When you look back throughout, time and history, one of the things that a man had to be able to do was give a dowry to a family in order to demonstrate his ability to take care of their daughter. And, as a person that has a daughter now, I want to make sure that, the man that she chooses many, 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 many years from now is also able to do that. It's also able to upgrade her situation. And I don't mean that in a strictly material way. So I'm not saying that he should just be able to buy her things. What I'm saying is that he should be able to offer her and her family a level of coverage and protection greater than what I am trying to provide right now. And what I'm trying to provide right now is what I think is the highest level. So now my expectation is going to be even higher than that for the next person. But I think that's how you get into real, true family development and legacy building, which is the focus of getting married in the first place. It's not And this is my perspective. It's not about loving somebody. It's not about you want to have somebody go on vacation with. It's not about that. This is about how do you actually make sure that the legacy of your family continues, but then also upgrades at every stage from that point. And so if you're not ready to do that, then there's no business in you getting married. And your selection process has to be built on someone whose beliefs and someone whose actions and their thoughts are complementary to yours. Because I'll just say for me as a man, you do not want to go and struggle and fight, in the world to get something done, and then struggle and fight in the world in your home to get something done as well. That's going to burn you out twice as fast.
So on that, I know that feeling of being burnt out. So that will stop you from your confidence, and stop you from the authority. That will stop you from a lot of things, achieving and growing. So being burnt out, and especially in your household, is detrimental. So you want to make sure that environment is nurturing and growing and gives you the energy that you need to move out. Whew. Fat boy tendencies, man. I apologize, man. But I'm gonna stop walking right now. But,
Thank you, brother.
I'm glad you figured that out an hour in.
Thank you, man.
Brother Anwar,
Be still.
I think your legs are rubbing against the speaker. That's the click that we keep hearing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Cool. Thank you.
So let me ask you this then, because then if a man is supposed to just take care of all the bills and take care of everything, and he's supposed to pay for everything, then that means that the woman is supposed to be there in just a completely subservient role. Is that, am I correct? So
I'm sorry, can you restate that question? I was just looking in the chat room as you were asking.
When you said one of the things, and I think Brother Byron had put it in the chat room, that the man is supposed to cover all the finances and all of the bills. And if this is the case, then a woman is just supposed to be there in a completely subservient role. Would this be correct or not?
I don't think subservient is really the word for it. The real actuality is that the woman is going to be the one that actually manages what we develop. So her role, her power is in that. So subservient, no, but at the same time, following the lead. That's going to make her happier. It's going to be happy. She's going to be a happier person knowing that there's a direction that her family and her environment is going into. You're going to be a lot more secure. You're not going to have to walk around feeling insecure because the man doesn't know where he's going. So I don't really think subservient is really the word. It's a good word to word it, but I don't think it really matches what we're trying to say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think what I would use is a term like complementary opposite. So I would say that if the man is playing, role A, then the woman plays role B, but those are the complementary opposite roles. So if as a man you decide, look, I'm going to handle all the bills, all the finances, all the making money. So I'm going to go out and deal with whatever it takes to build a business, cultivate a business, make it profitable, etc., which is hard work. Then the complementary opposite is then what is the woman's role going to be? Maybe that's at home with the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old and the 2-month-old, which is hard work. Anyone who has spent time around little children, at least 2 or 3 little children for any amount of time, realizes how difficult that actually is, and realizes the sense of organization and flexibility that comes with that. That's hard work too. I can say that, for me, sometimes I prefer to rather go out and deal with the work world than do that, because that can be difficult. But I think that there has to be a complementary opposite role that's playing. Like Brother Zach, you played sports growing up. Many of us have. Everybody's job is not to be the quarterback. Somebody has to be the quarterback. Somebody has to be the wide receiver. Somebody has to be the running back. Somebody has to be the offensive line. They're complementary opposite roles. No role is more valuable or more important than another one, but trust and believe, if anyone is not playing their role, then the entire team loses. And I think that's what you see with the state of our families. People are not playing their roles, or there's no one playing the role that's necessary. There's unfortunately far too many sisters with no man playing the complementary opposite role to them. And it forces them to play two roles, which is a lot for anyone to try to carry and manage. So for, the sister trying to work and make the money and then take care of the children, that's an unnatural and heavy burden to carry. It just can't, even if you can do that, that's not the preferred way for it to be done. Conversely, for the brother to be, sitting at home, not doing anything at all, sitting on the couch playing video games while somebody else is out making money, that's not the role for you to play either. That's not the complementary opposite role from your natural order as a man. And so that team loses also. So I think, I wouldn't say subservient as much as the complementary opposite, because at the end of the day, you're asking, what we're talking about is people playing the role that best supports the family development and the legacy building. And I don't think that, like a term like subservient, I don't think that you meant it in any kind of negative way, but I don't think that that's the term that I would put on that.
Interesting. So then let me ask, Sister Michelle, when you come down to your mate selection, how much of does money get involved with the selection of and let me ask the sisters in the chat room as well, when y'all choose a mate, how much does money become involved with you choosing your mate?
Just to help piece first. I don't know if money was consciously a big decision for me. I know that consciously, I knew that I picked my husband for his mind. I knew he was a very smart, brilliant man. And I saw that he didn't have money right then and there on the spot. Like, he didn't have an empire. He didn't have a company and none of that. But I knew that that's not really prerequisite. What's really important for me was his smart, because and Chief covered this too in the beginning of the month. Your ability to critical think. And my husband's critical thinking skills were key, because I also saw that he thought outside the box, that he wasn't encaged into the system. And he saw that in me too. That's why we attracted each other. We clicked right away. And it was because of that, because of our capacity to see beyond the mundane. And together, with his lead, we have been building, and we're getting to a better spot, and every day is going to keep going. So I don't think it's about, did he shower me with gifts? Did he take me out to dinner? No, we enjoyed our company together, and at the time when we met, we actually met at work. So I had my own thing. I was Miss Independent. I had my apartment in Brooklyn, had my job. I had my job was actually 3 train stops away from my house. And in New York, that's a luxury. And you don't lose that. You don't lose that. But, we decided to get married. And he also saw how badly the job was affecting me. The job was really taking a big hold on me. And, we spoke about it, and I quit my job. And that's when I stayed home. And I dedicated myself to studying the UCC together. We were in unison studying the codes and to see what we can do, because we wanted to make other moves. We wanted to make bigger things than what the system or the dream that has laid out in front of us. That wasn't cutting it. We wanted something bigger, something larger. So, now we're with Tanu, which is something bigger and something larger than what, this culture can provide for our bigger vision, for our critical thinking minds that can see beyond what they want us to see. They just want us to Netflix and chill out until we die, and then that way they can take our Social Security money, right? So we have other plans, and some women, I gotta say, they do go head over heels over the car, over this and over that, because in a superficial way, that's, this man can't provide. But what they don't see is probably he has $20 in the bank and has to, every time his check comes in, it's out. You know, those are different things that women don't really see that men do also to keep up a front. So this Western culture very much in itself is all a front. It's all like who can play the theater better, right? So in my mate selection, I went beyond the costume. I saw his soul, and we clicked from that point. And I guess we saw the divinity in each other, right? We saw the respect. We respected each other. So if you go by, you know, the cars and can I get a white picket fence house, you know, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the illusion. But if you go for substance or for capacity to work as a teamwork, then that's a different level.
And on my eyes, to your ears, I will say Sister Michelle has a wonderful family. Her family's full of wealth. Yeah, just looking at her daughters, her sons, the strong sons with strong shoulders, man. Yes, strong shoulders. That wealth that her family's bringing her is just beautiful. Especially just watching them run and do their family thing. It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things that we have as people, is our family. So I want to put that one out there. And just to add on to the question is that I think the best portion of it is our earning potential. A man's earning potential, his ambition and his expansion, his rate of expansion. You know, sometimes men are at a place where they're not able to expand at a place, but getting out of that box and that cage and learning how to grow from that point is the most important thing. And that, I think that's more of a deciding factor for a woman when she's looking, and that's just my opinion, coming from a man's point of view, is his earning potential, his expansion, his once again his abilities to move beyond where he's at. You know, if it's just a Netflix and chill, I'm just sitting on the couch and not doing nothing, then that's not the type. That's a male. It's not defined as a new man. You know, we work, we do what we got to do to grow, become larger than where we are.
But if Netflix and chill is I guess this is where I'm a bit confused now, because at the same time you say we have other plans. And when I heard Sister Michelle speaking on this, is just saying we have other plans, and if you have one of Netflix and chill, how does you having other plans coexist with submission? Because if one is to submit, then wouldn't you submit to the plan and the culture that he has implemented? And if that's the culture that he has implemented, then one would need to submit to that culture.
No, but we're making moves to remove ourselves from this culture. We clearly see that this culture of Netflix and chill is not for us. And that's why we're so grateful to be building with other Anubians, because the people that we do congregate with on the regular really do just want to Netflix and chill. And when you bring up conversations that will raise their vibration, they get uncomfortable. That's why this space is so sacred, because my husband has other plans for our family, and it doesn't involve Netflix and chilling and being on Facebook all day and just buying consumerism and spending money all over the place. It's not about that anymore. And we are making moves and as a family to remove ourselves from this culture, because this is the land where that culture is dominant. And we recognize that. So we have to make moves to something that's more indigenous, more like us. But there's a process, there's a transition phase. So far, I'm so happy that we got everybody together, is now we can build as a family. So now we can all see each other and feel our energies and say, you know, this is a culture that we can all grow in. And not only grow, but flourish. There's no toxins in the soil. There's just love. Love, water, food, and children laughing. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And this is a space that we create. So we literally have to create that space for ourselves. And that's where the men come in, because they take the lead. They create. They say this land is our land, for example, and boom, boom, boom. They build a house. They build everything that they need to, and then that's when the women come in. We fill the home and do all the other magic that women are supposed to do. We go to the garden, take care of the children, everything else, all the other details we work. But it's a teamwork. So, and that's where the men establishes the culture. And the Anu culture is established by chief. And we know that in Anu thought, the family is key. The family is central. But Anwar can see it. I live it on the daily. My children are my treasures. They are the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I will protect them life and death. I'm there. And they are the wealth, like what Anwar said. Yes, money is not wealth. Absolutely not. Money is a currency. It flows in and out of your life. But the true wealth that stays is your children, because they're the legacy. And that's the important part for women. If we can give them an environment where we are 100% sure that they can bloom to the fullest potential, we become different creatures. Women are not the ugly green witches that is portrayed in American society. It's not that. Those are the sick women that have been lost. So we get so sick when we're not in this trinity. So when women have to put their children in another space where another woman most likely has the authority over their children, and she doesn't know what's going on with them. She doesn't know the eating, sleeping, nothing. She doesn't know if they get hit, hurt. That puts the woman in a very tough mental state. And not only does she have to leave her children in a daycare, now she has to go say yes, masa, to another man who doesn't have her best interests at heart, and taking orders from him all day. That also does something to the woman. So it's the culture. 100% agree with what you guys are saying. It's a culture. Once we follow a more divine and natural culture, we can all bloom into the people, into the beings that we need to be. Because right now with this Western culture, we're all just theaters. It's all everybody's playing pretend, and it's really sad. It really is, because nobody wants to be honest with each other. Everybody wants to wear these masks and pretend that everything is fine. But everything is not fine, and we know it. We just have to save his face and pretend like, I'm not depressed. No, I just have to go to the mall the whole weekend to shop forever so I can fill this void that I have in my soul, because I don't have a mate, because I don't have children, because there's something off with me and I don't know why. So, for women, coming from that perspective, for our own mental health, it's divine that we join up with a man that has a plan and we submit. And I'll say, as an example, I am a scientist. I went to college and everything, had a job and a career. Even doing all that, I knew something was off. Once I submitted to my husband, and I have put all my trust in him, that he can lead us, and he could keep us safe and provide for us, and I could just do what I need to do, that changed my life. On so many levels. I can keep on talking about this forever, but I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm a real life example that what Chief is teaching is true. And you can hear it. You can hear it in the laughter. I'm done, guys.
and I'll say, Sister Michelle, your daughter is taking a wealth of good edibles on that table right now. She's been going all around the table. Nancy's been doing a good job keeping her tame. Boy, she's looking good right now, eating a lot.
Awesome. We'd love to hear that.
I know, it's good. Hey, there you go. I thought you were out the tree.
So how important or how dangerous then, when coming to this mate selection, and this term love that people like to throw around, how important is that in being implemented in mate selection, or how detrimental is that when you start to implement that word?
Many teachings as we've had with Chief in regards to that word love, and if we can replace that word love with Oshun,
we define it a lot better. And when we say Oshun, we're talking about connectivity. We're talking about the attraction. We're talking about the ability for two particles, even going down, let's go to the scientific version of it, the negative and the positive ion, positive charge to attract to each other and to combine to create an atom. You know what I'm saying? Those particles, when that love and that unity, or that Oshun, comes together, and it starts to manifest, it starts to crystallize, it starts to become a solid object. That's the part that love plays, or Oshun plays in the family. So, and that's the most important part. In our stories, in our Patakis, there's nothing. The Oristas say that nothing can work without Oshun. Oshun has to be there. So, that's the relationship for it. Now, sentiment.
I completely agree. I agree. I think that if women were taught what love really is and not be subjected to the brainwashing that is the movies, I think we'd be in a better spot. Women definitely crave the connection. That's what we want. That's what we need. And that's what we need to feel safe. Because it's that bond that keeps our mental health established. But it can't happen as a prerequisite. Like, women can't look for that first in order for mate selection. That has to happen after everything else on a checklist has been checked off. Is he a man? Does he have a plan? You go all down the list, right? And then the last thing should be, is there a connection? So knowledge, if women were given that tool of knowledge to know what it is that they're looking for in a mate, women would pick much wiser. But we don't have that.
I think the aspect that we look on is that we're getting affection confused with love, and like I said, we're getting those being able to hug and show the physical interpretation of affection to your partner. That's part of Oshun. That's just one part of the bigger picture of it. It's not separated from it, but it's just one part. So that affection towards the energy that we create, the unity that we create, and us playing our particular roles, that comes naturally. That's just part of the bigger picture, the holistic picture of our unity.
So Brother Zach, can I jump in and just answer that question too, man?
Please.
I want to jump on that. So, I think that, when I heard the question, there's a couple of things that I locked onto. So you talked about the word love, and you talked about love as it relates to mate selection, right? So I think that generally we would consider love to be a representative of an emotion, right? But then when you talk about mate selection, if you think about what selection means that there's a choice and that you're making a choice. And making a choice is based on making a decision, right? And a decision is what you would associate with more of a mental process. So when you frame the question of how does love conflict or contrast or join with the idea of mate selection, you're talking about, what I'm hearing is this, how do you take this emotional thing and apply it to a logical situation, right? Now, one of the things that my father kind of always told me when I was growing up is that logic and emotion can't exist in the same place at the same time. I'm not necessarily saying that that's exactly how this works, but it seems to me that when you're going to make the decision on who to be with, love is not the primary determining factor of that decision. Because, like Brother Anwar was saying, he equated love with Oshun. Well, Oshun is the physical embodiment of that is water. Water flows. Water doesn't stay in the same place all the time. Water is constantly moving, just like your love is constantly moving and it's constantly evolving. It's not going to be the same or remain in the same place. So basing a decision on what to do, you wouldn't make a decision based on something that was constantly changing or constantly moving, because the target that you were shooting for would be constantly moving. So when you think about mate selection is inherently a choice based on permanency. You're making a decision for your life at 35 for where you're going to be at 75, 40 years later. That decision could not be rationally based on something that was constantly moving, like where a particular drop of water was going to be in a particular river at a certain time. So I say that to say that, on the Orisha side of things, yes, I think that Oshun is an energy that is used to create a joining between people or between groups of people to accomplish something, and a life-giving joining is that. So if you look back at early societies, they would build their societies near water because water was important to the life-giving process, important for being able to clean yourself, important for being able to cook foods, important for being able to grow crops. So there's that part. But at the same time, that's not all that it takes to maintain the decision-making of building the family, because that's more of a logical thought and process. So I would say that love is the sort of the entry level to what brings you and a person together. But if your decision-making to marry someone or your mate selection is primarily based on emotion, I think you're going to be in trouble when you move down the road as that love continues to move and transition and become something else, as water is known to do.
Could I chime in on that as well? This is Brother Antonio. Peace.
Absolutely, brother.
I agree totally with the brother was just saying in terms of the physical characteristics of that ocean energy, that water. It's very important too that you notice the right dosage. Everything has to be in moderation. And I think Chief covered this topic in self-centered, the show on being self-centered, and he went on to discuss how some people are mate-centric, and they basically have their whole round centered around their mate or the object of their affection. And the problem with that is, like Sister Michelle was saying, you have this whole checklist that you go down, and the water is what you add afterwards when you understand that these are the ingredients for what I need for a balanced life. I need someone who has a plan. I need someone who has the finances and the resources. I need someone who's balanced and whole. Even someone who's self-centered, someone who knows what they want and are willing to go forward with their plans. That's something that a woman can latch on to and say, okay, I understand where this person is going and I want to support that. So I can bind myself to this person. That's where the love comes in. In terms of the mate selection, though, a lot of people don't really select. They sort of just ease their way into the other person's life. And I'm sure everybody on the line had this experience where you can't really track the timeline of the relationship to say, when did we become a couple or when did we become mates? It happens normally when you're younger because, like Sister Michelle said, we don't really get educated on the science of mate selection and how mates are supposed to interact with each other, who has what responsibility. So that was one of the questions I was asking in the chat room. If we're both moving in the same direction, if we're both moving towards the same goals, then there shouldn't be a problem with the wife or the wife having sources of income. The problem comes into play when their allegiances come into question, where she might be getting money from someone who's making more demands on her or making any demands on her contrary to what her husband wants her to do. So mate selection also comes to availability. If you're really down for the mission statement of the family. So that's what I really wanted to chime in on.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Hey, listen, just as a quick heads up, it's 12:50 Eastern Standard Time, and so I don't know how this is going to work at 1 o'clock, whether it's going to shift into archives or whether we'll be cut off. So we're running down to pretty close to what may be the end of the show. So that's just a heads up for everyone on the call and in the chat room as well.
Brother Charles, can you hear me? I'd like to say something. Can you hear me, Brother Charles? It's Brother Byron.
Yep. Hey, Brother Byron.
Peace, brother.
Peace, brother.
Peace, Icaro, everybody. I just wanted to call in and expand on what I was putting in the chat room. Okay, so one can gain wisdom through experience, or one can gain wisdom through listening to other people and learning from their experiences. When I was a younger person in Jamaica, my grandmother was speaking to a family member. They were talking about their choice of a potential mate. And the family member said to my grandma asked, why do you want to be with this person? And my grandma said and the person said to my grandma, because I love him. And my grandma said, love pup, which means love for, i.e. what has love got to do with it? So when it comes to mate selection, I fully concur with what Brother Charles said. As a man has to be making logical and practical decisions to make sure that the person he's selecting to be his lifetime mate, that he will bring forth ancestors with, is somebody that is going to be suitable and also aligned to his mission. With regards to the man paying the mortgage and the bills for the home, traditionally that is how things would naturally be. When a man is financially established and able to maintain a family, he would seek the hand of a woman by going to that woman's parents, and then he would be able to articulate clearly how he would financially be able to look after that particular young lady, that woman. As you remember, Chief is always saying that a female child leaves her baba's house and goes to her husband's house. She is always under a covering of her blood father or the covering of the husband. Now, this arrangement, if you look on the slide, you will see that the slide that is going on the YouTube, you'll see that the man has a role and responsibility to protect and to provide. Now, that does not mean that the woman, his wife or wives, cannot earn money from their own businesses or develop something outside of what he is doing, away from what he is doing, because that is not diluting the baba's role, the husband's role of responsibility. She is earning outside, using her talents to earn additional income. That in most cases, when I go back to what I consider and I've observed in West Africa, the woman would bring that money back into the house and reinvest that in the children, whether that's school, clothing, what have you, long-term investments in terms of property or university. They'd be investing that money back into the family, because the family will be working to the overall and overarching mission statement, with the man doing what he needs to do, divinely doing what he needs to do, and the woman divinely doing what her role and responsibility is. So this is not a case of saying that the woman cannot do anything. This is not a case of saying that there is any gender clash going on. There isn't a gender clash. The man has got his stratosphere of responsibility. If you go back to the slide, you will see Olodumare, you will see the stratosphere of responsibility for the man, you will see the stratosphere of responsibility for the woman, and you will see the stratosphere of responsibility where the children are. Now, these are all very important responsibilities, and one isn't greater than the other. So if the man isn't doing his role properly, then it's going to be more difficult for the women and the children to do their role properly. If the woman isn't doing her role properly, it's more difficult for the family unit to function to how it should be functioning, because things aren't in alignment. So my brothers and sisters on the line, this is not a case of battle of the sexes or saying that a woman, I'm not advocating that a woman takes on male gender roles, and I'm not advocating that a male takes on female gender roles. And I'm not really particularly interested if one gender is capable of doing the other or not. What I'm saying is, in the way that I understand Anu, in the way that I understand West African culture, the roles are very much clearly defined as set out in the slide on the presentation, which completely challenges our programming based on Western civilization, when we have been told a man can do what a woman can do. In fact, a man can dress as a woman can do what a man can do. In fact, a woman can dress as a man, etc., etc. So that slide there challenges the programming that we have been conditioned living in the West. And so I would request, rather than people potentially feeling slighted or closing their ears to the information, just to sit back and consider and reflect and ask questions for clarification to try and get some illumination into their thinking. I am on my second marriage. The first marriage was chosen by emotion. The second marriage was chosen by a clear head and within West African traditional practices. And the second marriage is sustained and growing and flowing. And the first marriage died on its feet. So you couldn't listen to my experience and say, well, you're going to go down with the first one, where you see a woman and you get a little heat and you want to deal with the woman and that's it. Or you can listen to the advice that Chief has been given consistently. You can listen to my experience. And I'm trying to say to you, don't make a choice of a long-term mate based on what your little head, I'm talking to the men, what your little head is telling you. Make that choice based on what your big head is telling you. And that's me speaking.
I guess you should drop the mic now after you said all.
Yeah. I might have dropped the mic, yeah. I didn't call to say all that, but you have to go with the flow.
Exactly. That's
what happens when the Baba speaks, man. Say what you got to say and drop the mic. I'm gone.
That's what the Spirit moved you to say, man. I got it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So we're coming up now towards the end of the show. Did anybody have any closing remarks before we go ahead and get out of here, or did Brother Byron just shut it down?
I hope I didn't shut it down, brother. I hope I stimulated debate.
I hope he opened it up. He opened it up. I will say we're having a wonderful time here at the park, and I would advise the members of ANU to start putting together little get-togethers. If you're in the area, start putting together, start communing with your people, your community. And I'm pretty sure our day's still just getting started, so we're gonna have a wonderful day. We're building good bonds now. So I would advise everyone try to keep something together, even if it's just for a couple hours here at the park, like what we're doing today.
Right on, too, Brother Walker. I want to reach out to you. Yeah, make sure he really steps up and gets everybody to commune. So, man, right on, Brother Walker. Salute to you, brother.
You got to give it to Michelle. Michelle really put it together. She knew she was coming into Tampa, so she got it popping. So
there you go.
Thank you all. And I think she's somewhere else right now. I don't know where she's at. I thought she was in a tree early because she was spotting me from a distance. I thought she had that eagle eye. I'm gonna say Mother Eagle Eye from now on. That's her name for today. Mother Eagle Eye.
There you go. Brother Charles, did you?
Yeah, just wanted to say, thank you for everybody that rode with us through the technical difficulties there in the beginning. Shout outs to everybody in the chat room, riding with us for the last 2 hours on the discussion. Everyone that called in, thank you very much for being a part of this group learning process. We're all students, we're all learning, and we learn from each other. So As always, thank you. And to those on the call, that are always on the call, Brother Zach, Sister Michelle, Brother Anwar. Hey, it's always good rolling with y'all. So thank you very much.
Right on. And we will see y'all back Monday. Chief will be on and moving forward. So y'all have a wonderful, prosperous day. And we will catch y'all next time. Peace.
Sounds good. Peace.
Peace.